Is Tamara here?
No. He already told you there is no Tamara here.
I count myself as a big fan of the original Strangers. The idea of home invasion is absolutely terrifying, and it's pulled off brilliantly. The Strangers themselves were able to enter the pop culture zenith due to their incredible mask designs and the mystery behind them. Then Pray at Night came out and didn't quite have the same impact. Sure, everyone likes the pool scene, but what else is there? So it's nice to see The Strangers return, but more in the style of the 2008 film. But those expecting the same old may be disappointed.
Tough crowd, right?
Despite being a soft reboot, Chapter 1 is very much a different vibe from the original film. Following a young couple, this has a decidedly more slashery feel, complete with tropes and jump scares. And I've harped on jump scares for ages, but it all depends on the context. A cat jumping out of nowhere, accompanied by a loud noise? Cheap. The appearance of a creepy mechanic after showing him staring from a distance? Perfectly set up, especially when tension permeates nearly every frame. So these moments of release help the momentum of the film. This is definitely one you'll want to experience with a crowd. In many ways, Chapter 1 feels like a retelling of the original story. Only instead of a couple being attacked at their summer home, it's a younger couple being attacked at their Airbnb. Nearly all of us have used these services, so it feels like a nice modern upgrade. I mean, hell, what millennials actually own homes, let alone vacation homes? Maya and Ryan are a believable couple, even if their interactions in the first act are a little bit hokey. They're both great once the horror starts. And the town of Venus, Oregon has a personality all its own, with various locals that are teased to be the true identities of the nefarious bad guys. I like the religious angle that they hinted at, as there's clearly a lot more going on here. Maya and Ryan are an interesting couple because they feel so fundamentally opposed. Maya is open and trusting, while Ryan is more reserved and combative. Unlike the original, where it was more, is our relationship over? This is more of a, are these people right for each other? Then over the course of the film, we see how much they clearly care for one another. And I really enjoyed how Maya feels like an audience surrogate while Ryan is making standard horror mistakes. There's not a whole lot of violence here, but I appreciated how much they went for practically. There's a gag involving a nail that is expertly handled. Though there is one bit of CGI that is genuinely baffling in its execution. It really took me out of the film and made me question why they even included it in the first place. There are a few moments of why aren't you just driving/running, but it doesn't ruin the experience. If anything, I was very impressed with the logic on display. There's a moment where Maya remembers to take the shotgun with her that elicited a massive reaction from my screening audience. The Strangers themselves all have personalities that help them feel unique. Bringing back the same mask designs was a smart move, as they're truly terrifying, especially when shown lurking in the background. Their lack of dialogue and body language really adds to their aura. I loved all the lurking near the characters without their knowledge. My main concern going in was that we'd find out too much about the villains. And while there are hints to their purpose, nothing is outright stated here. Mystery is their strong suit, so it's hard not to worry about any potential unmaskings in future entries. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with The Strangers Chapter 1. I think fans of the original will enjoy this one, but there will be some annoyed at how slashery it gets. This is much more overt in its scares. The rest of the trilogy is really going to affect how this one is viewed in hindsight, because there's a lot of setup going on here. If they go too far with explaining the origins, then this could play worse on rewatch. But with only hints of what's to come, I really enjoyed this outing for what it is, a cat and mouse thriller set at a cabin in the woods. As a massive slasher fan, this film felt like it was made for me, and I can't wait to see where they take it, which is why I give The Strangers Chapter 1 a 7 out of 10. And now be sure to check out my interviews with stars Madeline Petch, Troy Gutierrez, director Rennie Harlan, and producer Courtney Solomon.
Have you
guys been able to see the movie and witness it with a full crowd yet?
I haven't, but you did this weekend, right?
I didn't stay to watch it. My worst nightmare is watching people watch me in a movie.
Really?
So, oh yeah, I want to jet set out of there. So we had an influencer screening the other day, and the minute the movie started, I ran my little tickets out of there. But you watch it?
Yeah, she did watch me watch it.
There was like 6 people in there.
I was in the movie and I was jumping up and down, terrified. I mean, it's like a roller coaster, man. That's what I love about haunted houses and horror is like I get the same adrenaline rush without the fear of heights, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and Madeline, what does it mean for you to be so involved with the creative process on this one? Because Rennie has said that you are an absolutely incredible creative partner.
Oh, that's so sweet. Honestly, it happened so naturally that it felt exactly how it was supposed to be. Yeah. I met with them and had a ton of notes and was like, this is what I think should happen. And they were like, we love it. Come in, be the third partner. And I got to rewrite the scripts with Courtney, and then I got to edit these films, and now I've been sound mixing, and it's a really great crash course as a producer, and also I felt very honored to be so well respected by 2 huge behemoths in the industry.
And she's such a natural leader and natural producer. Like, she came in every day with like notes and rewrites, and they were all like, oh my god, why didn't we think of this? It's so perfect. It was like she was so great at it, and she was basically doing it before like she had the title or anything. She really stepped into it, and like when you have a character like this, you kind of have to in a way too. But yeah, she was so awesome and such a juggernaut on this movie.
That is so awesome to hear, because I know that you're also a big horror fan.
Yes.
So what does it mean for you to finally be considered a final girl in a major horror franchise?
I mean, if you could tell 14-year-old Madeline, who had just completed watching every horror film and blockbuster, that this was going to happen one day, she would cry her little heart out. It's huge, and I also think like now, especially in horror, it's really cool that it's becoming more normal to see such strong female protagonists, and the final girl is evolving. I think like the final girl in the 90s was kind of, you know, considered a more, I don't want to use the word weak because that's not correct, but a character who doesn't have full autonomy and doesn't feel like they can take charge in certain moments. And now, especially with this trilogy and other films that have been made, like you really do get to see final girls be like strong, independent women who are smart and make good choices and still end up in these shitty situations.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And I have to say, too, my favorite sequence in the movie is the Moonlight Sonata little piano sequence.
Oh.
And so I have to ask, did you like know how to play piano? Or...
God damn, it never
Every
gets
time.
less scary.
Y'all, I got a bone to pick with both of you.
You guys just have to put up with this all day?
But they also don't do it every interview, so it always continues to shock us. It's completely random.
Well, I'm so glad that they decided to come in for one of mine. Yeah,
Yes.
I know. Well, and I guess finally, I just have to ask about Rennie Harlin himself, because I love Rennie Harlin, and he's one of my favorite directors. As an actor, why is he such a great director?
He was definitely a fearless leader on our set. Like
Absolutely.
he really runs a tight ship, and I think that's a huge reason why he's such a a legend in our industry. Is he really knows how to run a set.
Yeah.
What else do you say, my dear?
He's kind of an actor's director in a lot of ways. Like he sometimes you'll get a sound cue that's like somebody reading a cue, and he like fully had like a keyboard where he was like playing the sounds, like the knocking on the door or whatnot, and
He knows this genre so well.
he knows the genre so well, and he knew everyone's job so well, and he was able to like orchestrate it in a way where like we show up and like there's no option other than to be like so immersed by the set decoration and the like the effects and everything.
Also, he showed me footage from his new shark movie when I last saw him, and it
what?
looks so fucking good. I
haven't
love a
seen
shark
it.
movie. Like love a shark movie. It was in London.
Okay,
We'll
okay.
show you.
Word.
But it was. I mean, I literally screamed. I was like, "This is my kind of movie. I love a shark movie."
Like you just know he's so good at what he does because you show up on set thinking like this is gonna be a crazy day, and he's just like, okay, yeah, we got
It's
this.
so- yeah, he's
It's
so calm
he's
about
so
it.
nonchalant about
Yeah.
it. I guess that only comes with experience, but he was great.
You
So
guys
good.
have made my day, because I'm looking forward to that movie so
No, you
much.
don't understand. I was like harassing him. I was like, "You have to show me something." He's like, "Okay, I guess I'll show you this trailer, but it's not done." I was like, "No, anything, please." And it's so iconic. I love a shark
I need to
movie.
see this.
Love a shark movie.
That is incredible. Well, thank you guys so much for talking with me. This
thank you
has
so
been
much for having
wonderful.
us.
Thank you.
What's up? I think this move. I've seen too many horror movies. I guess I don't get scared enough. Oh, sorry. So I saw the movie last night, absolutely loved it.
Thank you.
And so I have to commend you for how you deal with tension in the film. One thing that I love is that every jump scare is set up and earned. So how did you manage to avoid the trappings of cheap jump scares?
Good question, because we really worked on that hard, and that was my biggest fear of doing that misstep, because the premise of these three movies that we made is that it's a very realistic situation. It's any one of us could end up in a house that gets invaded by somebody vicious and endure this kind of a nightmare. And last thing I wanted to do is, do the kind of like throw the cats at the audience and go boo. And more than jump scares, really create the sense of dread and this stressful fear that was so dominant in the very original The Strangers and made that movie so special. And of course there are jump scares as well, but like you said, I really worked hard on from the script to shooting, that they would feel earned, that they would feel like they come at the right time. Of course, jump scare has to be surprising, but the honesty between the filmmaker and the actors and the audience was very important in these movies, because the audience comes to the theater and they are trusting you. They are like, take me on this journey, I trust you. And you can't betray them by doing something cheap just to try to get the effect. Because the effect, that's like a cheap drug. That's like getting a shot of tequila. It'll feel good for a few minutes, but then you'll just feel hungover afterwards. So, when it's earned, it feels good.
Cheap jump scares are one of the things I hate the most in horror movies, so that is the thing that I loved so much with this. So just thank you so much.
Music to my ears. Thank you. Thank you.
And I love the look of the film, the blues and the oranges, but the real standout is the hair of Madeleine Petsch. It looks so phenomenal, and there's a certain scene where she has to hide. Did you find that to be difficult to actually be able to visually hide her in those situations? Because that was all I could think, because she stands out so much in the darkness otherwise.
That's a really interesting observation. Definitely, we had to work on that sometimes. It was an issue of lighting and framing and set design and everything. Because she does have this flaming hair, which is, don't have that kind of hair if you have to hide from the band. But I'm glad you mentioned about the look of the movie and all that, because that's another thing that we worked very hard on, the colors and all that.
Well, and most of the time when a horror franchise makes it to a trilogy, that happens over very many years, and so you had the advantage of being able to make all three of these movies back to back. So what kind of advantage did you see from being able to do it that way?
I think it's a fantastic opportunity, which hasn't been done many times. But for the studio to trust us and say, we believe in this so strongly, we're going to just make 3 movies in one go, instead of the usual like, well, let's see how it goes, and then a couple of years later we'll get the band back together. In which case everybody's changed and everybody's grown and everybody's different. So I think the advantage was just exceptional to be able to explore these characters in a 4.5-hour span, 5-day span in the story, and go so much deeper into their psychology instead of a normal movie.
Well, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thanks. Good to see you again.
Casting shadow. Got so much to prove.
You are the messiest eater on the planet.
Lock the front door!
And so Pray at Night has its fans, but it's very different from the original. What made you want to go back to the aesthetic of the first film?
I mean, I love the first film. period, end of story. A friend of mine got the rights, but is like a money producer, and so doesn't know anything about the genre. And he's like, you know about horror, you make the movie. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, look, we can't. He's like, can we remake the original? I was like, because he's looking at numbers. So he's like, right, did $90 million. I'm like, no. You do not remake that movie. Don't even go there, right? Like, you would just be slaughtered, and that'll be the end of it. It's too soon. Even 50 years from now, who knows? But like, whatever, don't do it. Pray at Night, like, I had fun watching that movie. But here's the thing, like, I didn't want to tell another stranger story that was just like, okay, it's another family or it's another couple or whatever it is, and the strangers go and do their thing, essentially, which is what Prey of Night was, more or less. What I was fascinated with was who's behind those masks and what makes them tick. And what I also sort of saw, like, our first movie has the DNA of the original. It's no means a remake. It's not a prequel. It's a different verse and a different line entirely. We wanted to start there because the OG fans understand what that is. But for us, it was like, you just really can't improve on that setup to tell the bigger story that we're trying to tell. Remember, you watch chapter 1 and it ends, but the movie's not over until the end of chapter 3. Like, that's our real ending of this movie. This is just, you got a breath, like an intermission, and now you're like gonna pick up at the very next scene, literally, of what happens next. So I just couldn't, think of a better way than, to set up home invasion itself. And I love those characters, and those are the characters we wanted to play with in this story as far as the three strangers are concerned, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I wanted to add something else to the mix. It's supposed to be character-driven horror is what we were after. We're after something that, like, in the genre, basically says, why can't we, even though we're in the horror genre, spend time with a real character, both antagonist and protagonist, right? Where we actually go through every beat with them, and actually they earn what they're about to do as if it was real, like the original Strangers, in the vein of the original Strangers. So if Maya survives the initial onslaught, but they're in this small town and there's really nowhere for her to go, and they decide they want to play again and finish the job just because, in the nature of the train, we don't even know why, right? If she has to go through 3 or 4 days of that, who is she at the end of those days? And what does she really go through? Does she even want to live along the way, right? And how does it evolve and develop between the two of them? It's true horror. That's the horror. Then you get all the scares and all that stuff because it's in the milieu. So that's what we did here.
Well, I cannot wait to see the other one. Thank you so much for coming.
Hey,
today.
nice to see you again.